Anxiety, one of the most prevalent ills of modern society, has plagued humanity since time immemorial. But what if there was an ancient formula, hidden in the pages of the Bible, capable of offering relief in just 7 days? This intriguing premise takes us on a fascinating journey through sacred scripture, contemporary neuroscience, and ancient wisdom in search of a solution to one of the most pressing challenges of our time. The idea of a secret biblical formula may sound at first glance like something out of a Dan Brown novel. However, when we take a closer look at the teachings and narratives contained in the scriptures, we discover a surprisingly coherent and scientifically based set of principles that, when applied systematically, can effectively reduce anxiety levels and promote a state of greater emotional balance. Before we dive into the details of this formula, it is crucial that we understand what exactly anxiety is and how it affects the human brain. From a neurobiological point of view, anxiety is a nervous system response to a perceived threat, real or imagined. This mechanism, which evolved to protect us from danger, can become dysfunctional when activated chronically or disproportionately to real circumstances. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for reasoning and impulse control, works in constant dialogue with the amygdala, the emotional center of the brain. When anxiety sets in, this balance is disturbed, leading to a state of hypervigilance and excessive worry. It is in this neurological context that the biblical principles we will examine can have a profound and transformative effect. The first day of our 7-day journey begins with a fundamental principle found in the book of Philippians. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, let your requests be made known to God by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving. This verse encapsulates a practice that modern neuroscientists call mindfulness. By consciously directing our thoughts to a state of gratitude and surrender, we activate the prefrontal cortex, decreasing amygdala activity, and consequently, reducing anxiety. A study conducted by the University of Berkeley demonstrated that individuals who practice gratitude regularly have lower levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, and more balanced neural activity in regions associated with emotional regulation. It is fascinating to observe how a text written millennia ago anticipates discoveries from modern neuroscience. On the second day, we turn to Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. This passage introduces us to the power of silence and contemplation. In a world saturated with stimuli and information, the act of stilling can seem countercultural. However, science has shown that periods of silence promote neurogenesis, the birth of new neurons, especially in the hippocampus, a region crucial for regulating stress and anxiety. An experiment carried out by researchers at Duke University revealed that just 2 hours of silence a day stimulated cell growth in the hippocampus in rats. Transposing these results to humans, we can infer that daily moments of stillness and reflection are not only spiritually beneficial, but also physiologically regenerative. The third day brings us a lesson from the book of Proverbs. A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit makes the bones dry. This verse highlights the importance of the emotional state for physical and mental health. Modern neuroscience corroborates this ancient wisdom, demonstrating how positive emotions can strengthen the immune system and reduce inflammation in the body. A longitudinal study conducted by Harvard University followed more than 70,000 women over a 4-year period and found that those with a more optimistic outlook on life had a significantly lower risk of dying from various causes, including cardiovascular disease and cancer. This finding suggests that cultivating a positive outlook, as indicated in the biblical proverb, can have profound effects not only on mental health but also on longevity. On the fourth day, we explored a principle found in the Gospel of Matthew. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its cares. The day is enough for its own evil. This teaching directly addresses one of the main sources of anxiety: worry about the future. From a neurological point of view, the constant anticipation of future problems keeps the brain in a state of alert, elevating cortisol and adrenaline levels. Research in cognitive psychology has shown that the practice of living in the present, also known as mindfulness, can significantly reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression. A study conducted by the University of Oxford showed that participants who practiced mindfulness techniques for 8 weeks experienced a 58% reduction in anxiety symptoms. It's remarkable how the biblical advice to focus on the present aligns perfectly with the latest findings in mental health. The fifth day takes us to a passage from the book of Isaiah. You will keep him in peace, whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you. This verse introduces the concept of trust or faith as an antidote to anxiety. From a neurobiological point of view, the act of trust activates the brain's reward system, releasing neurotransmitters such as oxytocin, known as the love and trust hormone. A fascinating study conducted by the University of Zurich used an economic game to measure trust levels among participants. Those who demonstrated higher levels of confidence not only reported less stress, but also had lower levels of cortisol in their saliva samples. This finding suggests that the act of trust, whether in a higher power or in the people around us, can have a direct physiological effect on reducing stress and anxiety. On the 6th day, we come across an instruction from the Apostle Paul: whatever things are true, whatever things are honorable, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are good fame, if there is any virtue, and if there is any praise, let that occupy your thoughts. This verse offers a proactive strategy for managing our thoughts, something that modern cognitive behavioral therapy emphasizes as crucial to managing anxiety. Research into neuroplasticity has demonstrated that the brain is malleable and can be reprogrammed through conscious thought. A study conducted by the U.S. National Institute of Mental Health used functional magnetic resonance imaging to show how cognitive restructuring training can alter brain activation patterns in patients with anxiety disorders. Participants who learned to redirect their thoughts towards positive and constructive aspects showed a significant reduction in amygdala activity when exposed to anxiogenic stimuli. Finally, on the 7th day, we come to one of the most well-known passages in the Bible, found in the book of Psalms. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff comfort me. This verse addresses existential fear, one of the deepest roots of human anxiety. From an evolutionary point of view, the fear of death is one of the most fundamental impulses of the human being, deeply rooted in our nervous system. However, studies in neurotheology, an emerging field that investigates the neurological basis of spiritual experiences, have revealed intriguing data. Researchers at the University of Utah, using neuroimaging techniques, discovered that individuals with strong religious or spiritual faith showed less activation in brain regions associated with anxiety and fear when faced with the idea of death. This finding suggests that faith, regardless of its specific nature, can serve as a powerful coping mechanism against existential fear. At the end of these 7 days, a clear pattern emerges. The biblical principles we have examined are not mere spiritual platitudes, but profoundly effective psychological and neurobiological strategies for combating anxiety. Gratitude, contemplative silence, the cultivation of positive emotions, focus on the present, trust, the conscious direction of thoughts, and the transcendence of existential fear form a cohesive set of practices that, when applied systematically, can produce significant changes in our lives, mental and emotional health. It is important to note that this biblical formula should not be viewed as a substitute for professional medical or psychological treatments in cases of clinically diagnosed anxiety disorders. However, for most people facing the everyday challenges of anxiety, these principles offer a valuable, scientifically based path to emotional well-being. As science continues to unravel the mysteries of the human brain, it is fascinating to observe how many of the latest insights from neuroscience and psychology find echoes in ancient texts. This leads us to reflect on the nature of human wisdom and its ability to transcend eras and cultures. The secret biblical formula for overcoming anxiety in 7 days is therefore not a magic trick or a miracle solution. It is, rather, an invitation to a journey of self-knowledge, reflection, and consistent practice. It is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the deep interconnectedness between our mind, our body, and our beliefs. As we conclude this exploration, we are left with a perspective that is both humbling and inspiring. Humble, because we recognize that many of the modern discoveries about human well-being were already, in some ways, encoded in ancient texts. Inspiring, because we see the potential to integrate ancient wisdom with cutting-edge scientific knowledge to address some of the most pressing challenges of our time. The future of treating anxiety and other mental disorders will likely lie in this holistic integration of approaches. As we continue to unravel the mysteries of the human brain, we can expect to see an even greater convergence between spiritual practices, psychological interventions, and medical treatments. The journey to overcoming anxiety is ultimately a journey of self-discovery and personal growth. The principles we explore are not just techniques for managing symptoms, but invitations to a fuller, more conscious and connected life. They remind us that amid the turmoil of modern life, There are anchors of wisdom that can guide us to calmer waters. Thus, the secret biblical formula reveals itself not as a magical shortcut, but as a profound and transformative path, a path that invites us to rediscover inner peace, not as a passive state of absence of problems, but as an active and resilient force capable of facing life's challenges with grace and balance. As we move into the future, taking with us both ancient wisdom and modern discoveries, we are reminded that the true revolution in mental health may not lie in a new drug or therapy, but in the rediscovery and application of timeless principles that speak to people, depths of human experience. At this intersection between old and new, between faith and science, we can find not only relief from anxiety, but a path to a richer, more meaningful, and serene life.